This is not 1970. We all know the dangers of smoking on our lungs, on our heart, even our brain and spine, because it creates a blood flow problem. But what people are not talking enough about are the risks of prolonged sitting. You may have heard that sitting is the new smoking. And in my world, as an adult and geriatric physical therapist, I can absolutely attest to the very real detriments of spending too much time sitting. And in essence, what this means is we aren't moving enough. In this episode, we will discuss why sitting is the new smoking, the number one mobility problem in our elderly, and I'll outline practical tips for you in midlife and for your aging parents and grandparents to give your tush a break throughout the day. Did you know that the average American is sitting 10 to 12 hours per day? When you subtract sleep time, that's basically all day long. And it seems inconsequential in the moment, but the compounding effect of prolonged sitting increases the risk of metabolic syndrome and its associated chronic diseases such as high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, kidney and liver disease, obesity, and has been shown to increase the risk of certain cancers. Over the years, I've seen many patients who presented with this domino effect of too much sitting and immobility, resulting in a plethora of health problems that impact their quality of life. But the story of a lady whom we'll call Phyllis always stands out to me. Phyllis was morbidly obese, around 330 pounds, and she had multiple chronic diseases like hypertension and type 2 diabetes. She also had vascular insufficiency, and she had swelling or edema in both legs. She also had pressure sores on her buttocks and on the back of her upper leg or hamstring area, which was very painful and further limited her desire to want to move. The difference in Phyllis compared to other patients I've had is that she suddenly had an awareness of how her lifestyle had led her to this point. She regretfully said to me one day, "I've spent a lifetime sitting reading, sitting sewing, sitting watching TV. I just was never very active." My heart hurt for her in that moment when she recognized her path could have been very different. She was in her 80s, and while we worked on increasing her strength and mobility, she had a lot to overcome. You can see the vicious cycle here. And this is why implementing the strategies I'm going to share with you is so important to your future self. Now, I'll be honest with you, I love comfort. We are all comfort seekers to some degree. And we live in a world where we can now control the temperature in our homes, in our cars. We can have groceries and basically anything else delivered to our doorstep. And I'm not knocking these services. They are super helpful in the busyness of our lives. And I love that it can keep some of my homebound patients independent for longer. But as a society, we often avoid the hard things, the things that require physical effort or enduring less than ideal conditions. But these are what make us stronger, tougher, more resilient, and more prepared for living optimally as we age. Is it just me, or do you find yourself more tired after a day of travel or a lot of inactivity? I mean, sometimes I feel like I've run a half marathon. I'm so drained after being in the car all day. That may be an exaggeration, but don't you feel more energized when you've had a day where you've been able to exercise or you've just been overall more active? My 3 teenagers get sick of hearing me say, movement begets movement. So let's go. And winter is my Bermuda Triangle. It doesn't even usually get that cold in Texas, but this is my downward spiral. I know it's coming. Every winter, I mentally prepare myself to try to stay ahead of it, but it always happens. The kids are out of school. There's more downtime. I want to snuggle with a blanket and my dogs and a book, maybe a fire going. I want to be comfortable. And guess what? I'm not moving nearly as much as I normally do. Add on top of that all the yummy Christmas goodies that we're baking or receiving. It is a trap. And while I always feel temporarily comfortable, the aftermath is expensive. In just a matter of like 2 weeks, I will notice a loss of strength, weight gain, and decreased energy. Because remember, movement begets movement. Now let's talk about the postural implications of sitting. Most of us are looking down a lot at our phones, at our desks, and this is having an effect on our spine and posture. Have you heard the term tech neck? I can tell pretty quickly when I've been looking down at my phone or device too much because my neck will start screaming at me. When we're in these positions for long periods of time, we tend to be more flexed. Our spine is more flexed, our shoulders are more flexed, and guess what? Guess what that leads to? Our whole chest cavity becomes caved in. So then we're not even able to expand our rib cage adequately when we breathe in and breathe out. Force through the spine when we're sitting a lot can also increase the compression of our vertebral disc and lead to curvature of the spine. And sitting for long periods can decrease blood flow because our hips and our knees are in a flexed position and the blood tends to stagnate. It also causes problems with our digestive system because our stomach and our intestines are getting squished, which leads to decreased gut motility. And guess what that causes? Bathroom problems. Do you see now why they say sitting is the new smoking? The health impacts are extensive and real. Standing and moving will help reduce back pain, improve blood flow, help maintain strength and range of motion, and as I like to tell my patients, movement helps the movement, if you know what I mean. So how can we incorporate more movement during the day? We are going to outline some strategies if you're in a job where you are sitting most of the day and give some tips for our aging parents and grandparents. Let's start with practical tips for the office. We are going to call these exercise snacks. Set your alarm to stand up every 45 to 60 minutes. Stand up with good, tall posture, shoulders back, because again, we want that chest cavity open to take those great deep breaths. The next time your alarm goes off, do 10 standing air squats in front of your chair. And who cares what other people in your office may think? Maybe you'll even start a trend. You can, of course, alternate or improvise every time your alarm goes off of what activity you're able to squeeze in at that time. You know, these small breaks are intended to be no longer than 2 minutes or so. The goal is not to lose your job, of course, but just to integrate more movement throughout the day. You might also consider a standing desk or a walking pad under your desk if that's feasible for your situation. And I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but if at all possible, park further away in your parking lot and take the stairs when you can. Now, for our aging loved ones, they need to maintain as much strength and mobility as possible for as long as possible. Do you know the number one issue that I work on with my elderly population? It is sit to stand, like transitioning from a seated position to a standing position. It's hard to think about that being such a problem when we're in midlife because most of us just pop right up. but I can promise you it is very much a challenge for most of my patients. And the majority of my patients do pretty well once they're up. Most of them can walk with a walker maybe. Once they're up to standing, it's the getting there that becomes so difficult. This is a real problem because if they live alone and they've been getting around their home pretty well, if they start having great difficulty standing up from, say, their bed, their chair, a couch, the toilet, they may need increased assistance at some point. I don't take this impairment lightly because I know once increased assistance is needed, that can become very costly, whether that's an in-home private caregiver or making decisions to move to, an assisted living type environment. I'm always mindful of preserving their skin integrity as well, because we don't want our loved ones ending up with the pressure sores like we talked about Phyllis having. So for our aging and elderly loved ones, their exercise snacks are going to be standing up every 30 to 60 minutes. If they use a walker, they can stand up to that walker. Even better is if they could sit to stand, let's just say 5 times when that alarm goes off. Maybe they need to start with 2, or maybe 5 is easy for them and they could shoot for 8 to 10. Everybody's a little different. I also like standing in place with their walker if they use one, and just shifting their weight left to right, side to side, kind of like you're slow dancing. So that is a good option for one of their 30 to 60 minute stand breaks. A progression from there would be to gently march in place. Again, holding on to that walker if that's what they use, or even like a kitchen counter, something stable for them to have some stability. And if they're able to walk safely with or without a walker, they could take a short little walk around their home or apartment, and they may even need a bathroom break anyway. At the end of the day, the take-home message is to find ways to safely and frequently increase your movement from a standing position throughout the day. Please drop your own suggestions for daily exercise snacks in the comments. And if you'd like to learn more about metabolic health and chronic disease, which we touched on earlier, check out this video. Thank you for joining me today. And if you found healthful connections here, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend or a loved one.